Good evening again, and welcome to the Monday, July 14th Maplewood City Council meeting. We have a special guest who's going to help us with our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. But before I call him up there, I just wanted to share with you that I attended a meeting on June 28th celebrating the 15th anniversary. This is our local Karen Baptist Church. They had a large conference here, and they were celebrating 15 years of being in the U.S. and here in Maplewood. And so they gave us a really nice plaque. I'm going to give it to the city manager, and we'll have it displayed back here. It was a really wonderful event, and it's always so nice to join in our community to celebrate those kinds of things. So now I told you there's a special guest. It's Calvin. Calvin, would you like to join us up at the microphone and tell us your name, please?
My name's Calvin.
And what's your last name?
Gifford.
Thank you very much, Calvin. And he is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Calvin, what Boy Scout troop are you with?
292 out of Apple Valley.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Calvin, would you like to lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Calvin. City Clerk Sent, would you please do the roll call for us?
Councilmember Villavicencio.
Here.
Councilmember Cave.
Here.
Councilmember Juniman.
Here.
Mayor Abrams.
I'm here as well. Thank you very much.
And Councilmember Lee is not with us tonight.
Thank you. Council members, would someone like to make a motion for our agenda?
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve our agenda. Is there any further discussion? Council member Juniman, I see your light's on.
National Night Out.
All right, under council presentations, National Night Out. Council member Villavicencio.
Disability Pride Month.
Okay, Disability Pride Month, okay. Anyone else? All right, with that, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have two sets of minutes. We've got first the June 23rd, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move approval of the June 23rd, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the June 23rd, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have one other set of minutes to approve. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move approval of the City Council meeting minutes for June 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the June 23rd, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to appointments and presentations, we have our council calendar update. Mr. Sable, this is your topic.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just a couple of items to forecast for upcoming. If you take action today to call for a special meeting on July 23rd, which is in your packet, there will be a tour of some city-owned facilities. It'll be a bus tour on Wednesday at 4 p.m. And so an opportunity to see the community center, the nature center, the heritage farm, and also potentially Wakefield, depending on time and scheduling. Also, as you just called for a special meeting on July 28th to talk about the EDA strategic plan and the budget. In addition to the workshop that night, there will be two fairly lengthy items, one on the YMCA MCC facility assessment report, and also a review of the charitable gambling policy. Tis the season to give away money to community partners, and so that will begin in earnest. Also there are a lot of community events, so there's Celebrate Summer this July 16th. We have Fishing with Friends on July 17th, and I do want to note that the Tulub court reopening has been moved to September with Ramsey County, so it'll be the day after our Friday fireworks. So lots to do in summer in Maplewood. We encourage everybody to get out and enjoy everything that's going on in the community. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Okay. I do have one question about the fireworks. It indicates that they're at Edgerton, and I don't believe that they're at Edgerton. Does someone,
I think they're at Hazelwood.
I thought it,
The fireworks will be at Hazelwood. The Edgerton Park listed here is a copy and edit from the line above it.
got it, that's
So I
what I thought.
apologize.
So it's going to be at Hazelwood. Okay, great. We don't want to miss those. All right, so moving on, thank you. Council presentations, Councilmember Juniman, National Night Out.
Okay, it's getting closer. Now you have to get serious. Tuesday, August 5th is National Night Out, and registration is open, so please call in or go online and register your neighborhood. It's the time of year to get to know your neighbors and make sure that you can recognize each other when you drive down the street.
Thank you. And Councilmember Villavicencio.
Thank you. Well, I just want to recognize that this month is Disability Pride Month. Every July is Disability Pride Month, and the governor has proclaimed it Disability Pride Month for the last 3 years. And we usually have a celebration at the Capitol. And so this Thursday, July 17th from 10 to 1, join us all at the Capitol for Disability Pride Month. We'll have some cool swag and fun activities and lots of great community and a great chance to get to know everybody in our community. And, you know, I think in this time, in our era of things happening on every level of our government and in society, you know, it's a good time to be inclusive and learn who are the people in our community the best we can. So come on, join us at the Capitol on the 17th, 10 to 1. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, the reason for everyone attending tonight.
You mean they didn't come to see us?
We have some really cool things on the agenda later on, but I don't know that you're all here for that. Instead, tonight I am pleased that we are swearing in 4 new police officers. And Chief Beardeman, I am going to turn this over to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I want to start out by thanking the mayor, the city council, and the city manager for your continued support in hiring these 4 officers. I'd also like to thank our public safety staff, as well as the families that are with us here tonight. To our new officers, tonight you will receive your badge. It may weigh only a few ounces, but it carries the full weight of public trust, community expectations, and the responsibility that comes with wearing this uniform. The badge is more than just a symbol of authority. It's a legacy. Tracing its origins to medieval knights and early law enforcement, it became a physical reminder of duty, of sacrifice, and long life service. Early badges were formed from solid metal, which eventually grew heavier and heavier, not just in weight, but in their meaning. When pinned to your chest and over your heart, it's more than a symbol. It's a legacy of trust, of sacrifice, and the duty to do what's right. Remember that your badge will shape you in ways you cannot yet imagine. This job is not easy, but it was never meant to be. And at times, the weight of the badge will feel too heavy. But you won't carry this weight alone. You're part of a department that stands behind you and a community that believes in your best. Recently, I conducted a sergeant interview process. One of the questions I asked during the chief's interview process was if you could go back in time and speak to yourself on the first day of your job, what advice would you insist you live by? Most candidates told me the same thing. They said I would tell myself to never forget where I came from and to always remember why I got into this job in the first place. This message stayed with me, and I want to stay with each of you new officers. So tonight, as you raise your right hand to take the oath, I encourage you to pause and to reflect. Remember who you were on day 1. what brought you here, what drove you to serve, and who you really wanted to be. Hold on to that because your purpose will eventually ground you when the weight of the badge does feel too heavy. Finally, I want to communicate to you and your families, congratulations and welcome to the Maplewood Police Department. Remember to always serve your community and this profession with pride, with honor, and never forget where you came from. At this time, I'd like to formally introduce the officer sitting to my right who will be sworn in tonight. It's Officer Rachel Franco Vincent, Officer Claire Marie Petros, Officer Robert Norv, and Officer Jacob Bohr. Each of these officers has completed their field training and is now certified to serve our community as a solo patrol officer. This is no small accomplishment, and it means they've earned our full confidence to represent this department. I am confident to say that those who make the selective cut and become Maplewood police officers possess the number one quality that I look for in every single candidate, that first and foremost, they are good people. Skills can be trained, experiences can be built, but for me, character is a non-negotiable. That belief is deeply embedded in our culture and reflected in our department's motto, good people accomplishing great things. Officers, tonight is your formal welcome, but your actions going forward are what will define your legacy. Be proud of the work you've done so far to get here, and be excited for the work you still have ahead. At this time, I will have Officer Rachel Franco Vincent, otherwise known as Badge 472, step forward to be sworn in.
I'll just, for the audience members, if you would like to take a photo, please feel free to stand up and get close. This is the only time this happens.
Raise your right hand. I, Rachel Franco Vincent, do solemnly swear
I, Rachel Franco Vincent, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
Madam Mayor and Council, it is a tradition in law enforcement that the officer being pinned selects somebody to pin on their badge. Do you have somebody that you'd like to pin your badge? You can step up. Madam Mayor and Council, although it is not traditional law enforcement, it is becoming one that the officer would like to address the council, so she has a few words for you.
I'd like to thank Mayor Abrams, the City Council, City Manager Mike Sable, and Chief Beardman for the opportunity to be pinned at this meeting and for the opportunity to work with the Maplewood Police Department. I hope to continue being a positive asset to the Maplewood PD and the Maplewood community. I look forward to serving the city and one day being a field training officer to provide the same care and support to a new generation of officers that I received from my mentors. Lastly, and most importantly, thank you to my friends and family for their support. Thank you.
At this time, I'll have Officer Claire Marie Petros, otherwise known as Badge 473, step forward.
You raise your right hand. I, Claire Marie Petros, do solemnly swear
I, Claire Marie Petros, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of office of police officer
of office of police officer
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
I want to thank the mayor, the city manager, the city council, and Chief Beardman for the opportunity to work for the Maplewood Police Department and the opportunity to have my badge pinned at this meeting. Over the next few years, I'm looking forward to spending more time learning and growing on regular solo patrol, and I'm interested in pursuing a role as negotiator for the Maplewood Police Department. Finally, I would like to give a huge thank you to my family for supporting me through this journey. I would not be here without your support and your encouragement.
Next, I'll have Officer Robert Norv, badge 474, step forward.
Raise your right hand. I, Robert Norv, do solemnly swear
I, Robert Norv, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
in the city of Maplewood,
in the city of Maplewood,
in the county of Ramsey,
in the county of Ramsey,
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
I will never betray my badge or my integrity,
my character, or the public trust.
my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
Congratulations.
First of all, I would like to thank the mayor, the city council, the city manager, and the chief for the opportunity to be pinned today and to work for the city of Maplewood. I hope to continue to make a positive impact on the community and to look forward in progressing in my career. I also would like to be an FTO at some point. Lastly, I would like to thank my father, my mother, my sister, and my grandfather for all the support they have provided me along my way to being where I am today. I wouldn't be there without them.
All right, last but certainly not least, Officer Jacob Bohr, badge 475.
Raise your right hand. I, Jacob Bohr, do solemnly swear
I, Jacob Bohr, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Police Officer in the City of Maplewood, in the County of Ramsey, and the State of Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability. I will never betray my badge or my integrity, my character or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. Congratulations.
All right, I guess I'm last. So I'd like to thank the mayor, the city council, city manager, and the chief for allowing me to be here, giving me this opportunity to work for the city of Maplewood. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time so far, and I'm excited to continue working with the public and with our wonderful citizens here at Maplewood. I'd like to thank my family, friends, and partners for helping me along with this journey, because I wouldn't be there without them. So thank you.
That was great. In closing, these officers now wear the badge of the Maplewood Police Department. Wear it with humility, with strength, and with purpose. You've earned your place here. Now go out and make a difference. Congratulations from me to each of you. Don't forget who you are. Stay grounded, and as always, be safe out there.
Do you all want to come up? We're going to do pictures.
Family who wants to take pictures, come on up. I'm going to have them do the official city one first, and then we'll point to each camera. Come on up, come on up. Hope you're afraid. Come on up.
You stand next to her and I'm sorry.
Now you can look. Everybody, look at my camera first. This one first. Let's see. First. Okay, now we're going to look at you next. No, I'm serious. So, okay. Go ahead. Or, okay. And then anybody else want the straight on picture? All right. Good. All right. Anybody else? One more, right here. Looking at. Get in close, get in close. There you go. You got to zoom with your feet, not your lens. All right, thank you.
Those of you who are here with the swearing in, if you want to head outside, they have refreshments and coffee and stuff in the lobby. They'll show you where to go. So, thank you.
Okay, you can hold on. Rachel, my dad wants food.
All right,
I know, this is the most fun.
Wait, no, I need to get a picture.
Comprehensive financial report.
Well,
I guess we're kicking the county out of here.
over here, no one else is. I like the parents. If I saw a single parent, I would have been like, oh.
Council members, we are going to move on with our meeting. We understand that you probably would rather have cake than listen to our 2024 or 2025 comprehensive financials. I guess 2024, sorry, yeah.
Joe knows how to clear a room.
They all left their paper down
I had
there.
to say it to somebody.
Okay, we are ready. I have to say that that's kind of a hard act to follow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I want some woots after mine, too.
And don't take offense that no one wanted to stay to hear that, your presentation. I'm going to introduce our Finance Director, Joe Rube, and then he can introduce you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. We did have a few other people stay, so I think this is what they're staying for. Over the past 6 months, the finance team has been working on audit work papers and the financial statements for fiscal year end December 31st, 2024. Our auditors from Bergen KDV are very involved with reviewing our work. During the audit process, they meet with finance staff, a member of council, the city manager, and anybody else that might have any concerns with anything, just to kind of review how the process is going that. Tonight, council is being asked to consider a motion to accept the reports in your packet. If for some reason you'd like a physical copy, we'd be happy to give it to you so you can put it on your bookshelves or bring it on vacation with you to review. And finally, we have Andy Grice here from Bergen KDV to present the audit results.
All right, thank you, Joe. Members of City Council for having me here
Welcome.
tonight. Here to present the results here for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Wanted to begin by highlighting the independent auditor's report included in the annual comprehensive financial report. That report talks about our role as your auditor as well as the role of management, and that the financial statements are management's responsibility, and it's our role as your auditor to come in and provide assurance through our audit opinion as to whether we believe those financial statements to be fairly stated in all material respects. Happy to report that we are providing a clean or an unmodified opinion, which is the best that we can give as your auditor. We also provide two other reports, one report in accordance with government auditing standards. That report talks about our consideration of internal control over financial reporting. We look at the processes and procedures there over the preparation of the financial statements and are required to provide in writing any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that come to our attention. And there were no internal control findings to report there for this year. And then lastly, we do have a report on Minnesota legal compliance where we take a look at certain state statutes related to Minnesota cities, and again are required to report any non-compliance that comes to our attention as part of that process, and there were no findings to report for this year. In addition to our independent auditor's report, we also have our communications letter that's provided in the agenda packets. That includes all required communication in accordance with audit standards, but also provides some courtesy information in terms of financial analysis, also some emerging issues, talking about new accounting standards to look out for in the future. And so we did want to highlight the charts and graphs in that financial analysis for you here tonight. And we start by taking a look at general fund revenues here over the last 5 years. Here in 2024, revenues were at a high point at about $27.1 million, compared to about $26.2 million back in 2023. The largest fluctuation was in taxes, which increased about $1.5 million, or about 7.5% with an increase in levy here for 2024. That was offset by intergovernmental revenues, which were down by about $675,000, or about 26%. There was a large public safety aid that was provided back in 2023 that did not reoccur at those levels here again for 2024, so we did see a decrease there. And then we also did see an increase in the miscellaneous revenue category, increasing about $146,000. There was a settlement included there, as well as better investment returns than anticipated, given the increases in market rates. We also wanted to highlight the budget to actual results here for 2024. The budget called for $26.3 million in revenue. Ultimately, did have $28.5 million, so a positive variance there of about 8%, or about $2.2 million. The largest variance there was in the licenses and permits category. That came in over budget by $755,000, mainly driven by being conservative for building-related activity here for the year. We also did see a variance there on the charges for services line, coming in better than anticipated by $281,000. That was related to plan check fees, again related to the development here in the city here for 2024. Investment income was better than anticipated by $587,000, again being conservative for investment returns, given that those can be volatile and can vary from year to year. And those were the main drivers here on the variances on the revenue side here for 2024. Next, wanted to highlight the makeup of general fund revenues, and the majority of general fund revenues do come from taxes, and that continued here in 2024, making up about 78% of overall general fund revenues, compared to about 75% last year. That change in proportion is really driven by that decrease in intergovernmental revenue, which decreased again because of the one-time public safety aid that was provided back in 2023, and the remaining categories were fairly consistent with the prior year. Also wanted to highlight general fund expenditures here over the last 5 years, and again focusing on 2023 and 2024. We did see an increase of about 3%, increasing expenditures to about $26 million compared to about $25.2 million back in 2023. Police increased just over $1 million, as well as fire about $390,000 related to increases in wages and benefits. Capital outlay decreased about $614,000 due to some significant capital purchases back in 2023. And then finance decreased about $374,000 with the DMV closing back in 2023. That did having a partial year of activity back in 2023, and then no activity here in 2024. Other categories were fairly consistent with the prior year. Also wanted to highlight the budget to actual results. The budget called for a budget of $26.3 million in expenditures, and ultimately those came in less than anticipated by about $350,000, or 1.3%. And that was mainly being conservative for costs related to wages and benefits, repairs and maintenance, as well as fees for services. But again, ultimately came in under budget by about 1.3% for the year. Taking a look at the makeup of general fund expenditures, those were fairly consistent between the 2 years. Again, did see a bit of a shift in the finance category, going from 5.2% down to about 3.6%, again with the closure of the DMV. And then with the increases in the wages and benefits in the police category there, we did see an increase in that proportionate share, increasing from about 44% to about 47%, and then capital outlay going to 0% with no capital-related purchases in the general fund here in 2024. Taking a look at the overall results, looking at total revenues, total expenditures, as well as unassigned fund balance, and the ratio of fund balance as a percent of the year's revenues. We did see the unassigned fund balance grow to the highest point in the years presented at just over $18 million, which represents about 66% of revenues and about 69% of expenditures. The city does have a policy in place to maintain a minimum unassigned fund balance of about 40% and a desired level of 50%, and the city is in compliance with that policy here for 2024. The next chart highlights the tax capacity, tax levy, and tax rates over the last 5 years. And here in 2024, the tax levy did increase about 10%, whereas the total tax capacity increased about 3.2%. And given that the levy increased at a greater rate, we did see an increase in the tax capacity rate going from about 40.5% to 43.5%, but overall has been fairly flat over the last 5 years. The next charts that we have highlight the city's enterprise funds. And just a reminder that the enterprise funds are the city's business type activities. They are presented on a full accrual basis of accounting as they are meant to operate like a business, and that the user charges that are established to cover the cost of operating these services should be sufficient, again, to cover those costs. The ambulance service fund has had some challenges in that regard, as we have seen operating losses here over the last 5 years. The most significant being back in 2023 with an operating loss of about $1.5 million, and here in 2023 did see an operating loss of about $979,000. That was covered through intergovernmental revenues, which are non-operating revenues, as well as property tax dollars, and as a result, there is actually an increase in the net position in that fund, going from about $2.4 million to about $2.5 million at the end of the year. The cash balance in that fund was actually negative about $230,000 after being positive about $430,000, mainly driven by the timing of receipts. The main asset in that fund is an accounts receivable balance of over $2 million. I do recommend the city continue to evaluate this fund and as to whether this fund could continue to operate with the user fees that are being established that are giving those operating costs. And given that it is significantly reliant on governmental activities such as grants, contributions, property taxes, it may make some sense to evaluate that as a potential governmental activity in the future.
Before you move on, can
Sure.
we just kind of camp here for just a minute? Because I
Absolutely.
know, council members, we have been monitoring the ambulance fund and what's happening with it. And I want to turn it over to Mr. Sable because I had a discussion with him about the ambulance fund today.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. So this is, when I arrived in March of last year, this is one of those topics that popped up immediately. And so when we put forward the working with our financial advisors on building out a 10-year financial plan, one of the areas of focus that we had asked them to look at was this ambulance fund. There's a range of choices that we can use to sort of remedy that, and so I will forecast that in 2 meetings from now we're going to talk about this in depth because I think we do have a long-term plan, but I also want to ask the finance director if he can weigh in as well.
Sure. Mr. Rube.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. With our time and our work with Bergen KDV and Andy specifically, we have discussed different options. So as you're aware, that over the last few years, 2 years, we started adding levy funds to cover the cost. Part of that is that our revenues aren't increasing at the same pace as the expenditures, and a lot of the additional expenditures that we've seen over the last few years have been due to adding additional firefighter paramedics. That cost continues to increase, especially as we look at contracts and that. So we don't see that gap necessarily coming any closer anytime soon. So we'll have to continue looking at levying for that fund. We also are using some of our LGA funds towards that. We really should be looking at LGA as one-time funds because we never know. There's no guarantee that it's always going to be there. So we try not to, and most of the funding that we get from LGA we use for in the SRF fund for street projects to keep those costs down for our residents. So we'd like to repurpose those back to them, but we need to find a solution for that $575,000 that we allocate right now. One of the options that we've discussed with our auditors is combining it into the general fund. We'd use a similar funding structure as what we currently have so we can still monitor the ins and the outs of it, but then at the end of the year, we would just take it all and collapse it kind of into the general fund. Ultimately, that would impact the general fund balance that we have if there is a loss in that fund as well. So we're looking at different options, but if there's anything specific that you'd like us to consider and take a look at, we'd be happy to.
Thank you for that explanation. Like I said, we have been monitoring this for a while, and it's something that this is not unique to Maplewood. And so I'm going to ask Mr. Sable if you would explain why the ambulance fund struggles as it does, because those residents who may be watching will be wondering what is with the ambulance fund and why is it struggling? Why are we below the line there? Do you want to explain that so people understand?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor and council members, and to the audience at home. When Maplewood set up its structure for repayment of ambulance service, so if an ambulance responds to a home call, that homeowner is responsible for paying the fee that's associated with all of the costs. There's a gap, and then so that is assuming someone has private insurance. However, if someone is on Medicare or on Medicaid, there is a fixed cost structure from the federal government. The reimbursement rate for that varies depending on the call, but on average is about $680 per call. Our cost to respond with a full crew to that call is $2,200. So we essentially lose right around $1,600 every time we go out the door. The community has said that this is a really important service and has said this is something that we want to have. We want to continue to have good response times. And the trend has been to make that just a cost of doing business, and it's just funded as the general fund. And so what we would need to do is alter our reimbursement formula. Currently has 60% going to the ambulance fund and 40% to the general. We may have to alter that formula, and that's part of the struggle. Is the reimbursements at the federal level were set in the Clinton administration and have not been updated since. And so we've had a handful of presidents and many, many years since then. And so we continue to advocate for better up-to-date, accurate rates and rate structure. But as you know, the federal government has its own challenges with managing their budget. And so like all good situations, the problems often end up at the local level, and we do our best to respond as appropriate.
Thank you for that explanation. That's helpful. Council members, any other questions about the ambulance fund? Okay.
All right, moving on to the Environmental Utility Fund. This fund has been fairly consistent over the last 5 years. Operating income has ranged between about $1.8 million and just over $2 million. Here for 2024, it was at $1,876,000. And as a result, did provide positive operations for the year. This fund did provide transfers out to other funds for public improvement projects of about $2.6 million. As a result, the net variance between transfers out and the positive operations was a decrease in cash balance of about $537,000 for the year. The next fund that we have is a recycling fund. This fund did see operating income of about $291,000, which is the highest in the years presented. Ultimately did provide an increase in cash balance for the year of about $49,000. Next, do have the Sanitary Sewer Fund. This fund did provide operating income for the year of about $623,000, so again, positive operations. This fund did have some net position available and ultimately was transferred out to other funds for some public improvement projects of about $1.2 million. The net result was a decrease in cash balance for the year of $620,000. The last chart that we have for you here is the Streetlight Utility Fund. Also has seen fairly consistent operations here over the last 5 years. Did have an operating income of $267,000, the highest in the years presented, but overall, again, fairly consistent. Did provide ultimately a decrease in cash balance for the year of about $7,600. Those are the highlights that we had from the communications letter, and next I'd like to open up for any questions.
Any questions, anybody? I don't see any questions. Any questions for Mr. Rube? Thank you for your report, Mr. Grice. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Joe. Let's just say it was a lengthy report and took a lot of time to read through that, but it was really good. Thank you for that. Very thorough. No questions. Thank you.
Thanks
So,
for having
council
me.
members, we do have a motion in front of us. Would someone like to make it?
I motion to accept the Maplewood 2024 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion to approve our comprehensive 2024 financial report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have a special presentation from St. Paul Regional Water Services. Ms. Parr, are you going to introduce this, or I'm not sure who is? Mr. Sable?
Certainly. So we have a wonderful partnership with St. Paul Regional Water Services, and they have undertaken one of the largest public works water utility projects in state history. It happens to be in the city of Maplewood, so we not only appreciate the great work, but also the permit revenue that you just saw in the annual comprehensive financial report may have contributed to that. And so we have Raquel Vasky from St. Paul Regional Water Services to walk us through her presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. And I want to welcome you, Raquel. Just for those who are watching, there was a tour of the St. Paul Regional Water Facility by electeds and staff members from, basically, it was through the Ramsey County Legal Local Government. And I have to say, I have toured the facility several times when I served as a water commissioner. And this time, it was totally different because we got to see the new system that we are moving to. And I know Raquel has been with the water service throughout all of this in a variety of different capacities. But it was a wonderful tour, and there were great reviews about the tour, and people had no idea about all the things that go into our water. And especially, I don't know if you saw the news today, but there was on another part of town, there's a boil water order, and you know, we are just very grateful to have St. Paul Regional Water here in Maplewood. So, Ms. Vasky, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mary Lee Abrams, and also thank you to the council for having me here today. Just really excited. Going to start a tour of trying to get out to all of our suburban customers and make sure that we're being more present. I think we're signed up for a few Maplewood events this week and throughout the summer, so that's exciting too, and we're really excited for that opportunity. Our tour, this is a presentation that much of it will be repeat, so I'm sorry if you had to hear me twice in 2 weeks for those who came to the tour last week. But just did my best to try and grab a nice overview of the organization and what really our high priorities are right now. And of course, we'll end with kind of a summary for how I think we can continue to partner into the future. So just really high level, I just want to touch on the fact that the baby boomer bubble burst has been very real at St. Paul Regional Water Services. So we are just under 50% of our staff that are employed today, 300 employees, just under 50% have been there less than 5 years. So we have had a significant amount of retirements and turnover and growth while we've launched lead-free Aspartabios, which I'll touch on here shortly. But just wanted to have a chance for you to see the names and faces of our leadership team today. 2 of them got tricked into coming along with me today. So our business manager, Richard Rowland, and our distribution division manager, Graham Chapel, are both here today, and appreciate all of their work, of course. They're the ones who really keep things moving, and then the rest of our leadership team is up on here. We'll have to rotate next time we visit. Just a quick overview of our customer base. Obviously, in our name is St. Paul, and St. Paul represents about 75% of our total customer base, but we do serve a significant number of the suburbs around St. Paul, of course, including Maplewood. The differentiations in colors are interesting and worth noting that for the most part, the bulk of our customers are considered retail, and that's the light blue, that's St. Paul, that's Maplewood, and a few others. And what that means is that St. Paul Regional Water Services not only provides the drinking water, but we also own and maintain all of the infrastructure that it takes to get that water to out into the communities. In a little bit different structure, the gray is what we call a wholesale agreement. So in those cities own and maintain their own infrastructure, and we just provide to them the finished drinking water. So there's meters on the border of Roseville and Little Canada. We monitor how much water those cities pull in from our system, and they pay one giant bill monthly. Roseville, interestingly enough, then takes our water and sells it all the way through Roseville to Arden Hills as well. So that's one of our favorite talks over dinner is if someone tries to tell you the water is better in Arden Hills, you let them know that that's actually our water making it all the way up there. The last color worth noting is the dark teal, and that's limited retail. And what that means is that we just have a sporadic number of accounts in each of those cities. Sometimes there was construction, sometimes homes were having an issue with their water, and we were able to pull them in and connect to our system. So that means that we serve parts of those cities. You can see on the left just a high-level summary. So we have just about 97,000 active accounts, serving a total of just under 450,000 people every single day with our product. MHI is on here, and the 3 charts that are smaller below really help us start digging into affordability, which I'll touch on a bit later too. But As we talk about aging infrastructure and the rate increases needed to maintain water and stay off of the news, it's really important to us that we're also watching affordability. So we've got about a 2-year project in the works now where we've really been analyzing affordability across our entire customer base and what does that mean and how do we ensure that access and affordability remain priority for our utility moving into the future. I'll touch briefly on the supply system, mostly because our customer base is up for discussion right now. Those of you watching the news may hear about PFAS issues in the Northeast Metro, as well as the White Bear Lake lawsuits from the water demand, the aquifer demand levels that resulted in the White Bear Lake actually dropping in levels. And so while we monitor both of those issues, we're involved in some groups that the Met Council is coordinating, where we continue to offer ourselves as an opportunity for connection if we end up being the right solution for some of those cities facing these issues. Hopefully there's a back button. There we go. So just worth sharing, we pull our water from the Mississippi River. We have 109 million gallons per day appropriations from there. Our water comes through the river to a chain of lakes. At number 4, we actually have a fully redundant system where we have 10 wells there. We don't typically use those wells, and actually part of the White Bear Lake agreement was that we'd stop using them while they analyze the aquifer demands from the Northeast Metro. And then our plant is at number 5. But just the rough numbers show we use about 40 MGD in the winter and 70 in the summer. So you can see that even with retaining some redundancy in our plant so that any one component could be down on any day, we still have some excess capacity that we're willing to try and utilize to expand. I think it's interesting for customers like you to help in that conversation potentially on sharing what your experiences have been for those other cities. Councilmember Cave has been involved on our board. Mayor Abrams has been involved on our board, and so that's the way that Maplewood has had ties. And we would potentially be considering something similar to that if we continued expanding. And of course, power and numbers and ability to spread out those investment needs that we'd experience. Just a really high-level overview of our budget, not nearly as detailed as the financial reports you just saw. Just a snapshot. We sell our water in units. A unit is 748 gallons of water, and we sell that water for $4.38 in the winter and $4.52 in the summer here in 2025. On the right, you can see what that means for an average household. So our average household is consuming 6 units of water per month, which ends up being $37 a month for treated water delivered right to your homes. And so we like to remind folks of that. St. Paul Regional Water Services sits very affordably when we look at industry metrics across the country. And while I know rate increases are hard, our utility needs them at this point because we've lacked doing them for many, many years. It was important to our utility to not do them earlier than we needed to, but we're at that point now where our infrastructure is about 100 years old. A lot of the water mains are, a third of our water mains are over the 100-year life cycle projections, and so we're trying to catch up on those replacements. Obviously, the brand new water treatment plant was expensive, and so you'll see rate increases continue to occur, and that's so that we can stay proactive in replacing that infrastructure that we need to. But the great news is that we're starting from a really affordable place. Now I'll highlight quickly just a few of our projects that I want to ensure that you're well aware of as they impact your cities and obviously impact the work of our organization. The first is lead-free SPRWS. And really great news is that our Board of Water Commissioners back in 2022, before federal money really became solidified and we were hearing the chatter that it might, the board asked us to come up with a plan. If federal infrastructure dollars showed up, what would we do with them? How would we use them to remove lead? And so our team built the plan, and luckily enough, we were able to convince Mayor Carter to buy in on that plan and really give us a shot to prove it. And so Mayor Carter committed $16 million of St. Paul's American Rescue Fund dollars to that program that we had designed to start replacing lead in our communities. And that was a really successful pilot and has since helped us to be the first in line for the money that then showed up later for the state of Minnesota. And so we've got a huge jump on the other cities in our service area and getting the lead out. So the great news is we've been able to solidify state funding through Minnesota, and we have money for 2025 and 2026 pretty well solidified already, sitting with the state currently, as long as nothing drastic happens. But what matters now is making sure that money stays there. So this is not a quick project. This is a 10-year project to remove lead. And so we'll really be advocating to make sure that we continue to have that funding past 2026 so we can ensure every home with a lead service line can have those replaced. If we look at our entire service area, we have 26,000 lead service lines. I've got great news for Maplewood, 7. lead service lines. So we have not replaced those yet, but we have a very small batch that we need to get to. I will note that there are about 90 homes in Maplewood that have what's called an unknown, and that just means our records don't clearly indicate whether it's lead or not, but based on the year that those homes were built, we're pretty sure that they won't be. So it'll be a pretty small number. We've got a very detailed prioritization plan on how we're going about this, and would love to talk more about it with those who are interested on, just so you know when you'll be up and how and when we're making those decisions on where to go next. The next project I'll talk about is one that is impacting Maplewood sooner, and that's our meter system renewal. So on the left side, you can see that there's a few parts to a meter, and a meter is what's in your basement to actually track the amount of water that each home is consuming. So you have a meter body, and then you have the computer on top of it called a register, which is tracking how much water is entering. So about in 2010 and through 2012, we replaced both together, a full project in all 96,000 accounts. The battery on the meter register part of it only lasts about 15 years. So we're reaching that point where those batteries are going to start failing. Some have started failing. So we have this project to get into all 96,000 homes to replace those registers. The good news is that while we're doing that, we're also adapting to the newer technology that's available. And that's where the collector and the antenna comes in. So previously, what we've done to read those meters is to drive down the street. And I always joke that it's like Pac-Man. Our meter readers drive down, and there's red dots all over the screen. As they drive down the street, the red dot turns green, and that means they collected the read. Great, but that means we're only getting out to systems as frequently as we send drivers around. That's not every 90 days, quarterly right now, which is where our billing quarterly cycles come from. A collector and antenna will be able to collect that data every 15 minutes. So we're receiving data significantly more frequently. And the benefit for that is that can help us detect leaks a lot sooner. I don't know if anyone in the room has experienced a toilet leak before or accidentally left a hose on in the backyard, but those can be very expensive bills. And there isn't a leak forgiveness program because it becomes a very slippery slide in this industry. But what utilities are moving to with the technology is this, catching the leaks a lot sooner and then being able to stop them. So we're excited about that. Good news for Maplewood, of about the 10,000 customer accounts that we have in Maplewood, about 20% are already being read by AMI as it stands today with where we've installed collectors already. And I'll get to this in the end of the slide, but what we'll need help with is as we reach out to customers and ask for access to homes to replace those registers, we just want to make sure that customers know we're coming and have your help in advertising that to make that process as smooth as possible for staff. This is just a picture I can't help but put in when I talk about this project. This is an actual leak from one of our customers. That's a 90-day read cycle. You can see that something went terribly wrong within that home during that 90-day cycle, and they had a huge spike in use for a large chunk of it. On our quarterly reads, we didn't find that out until we had read them 90 days later, and it was already too late. With AMI, by the third day that red spike would have occurred, we would have known, and we would have been reaching out to the customer to let them know, hey, something's going on within your home. You might want to go check toilets. You might want to go check hoses. We believe you have a leak in your home. So that's a really exciting look into the future. I will note that the other part of AMI, and one of my goals and our leadership team's goals, is that with this data, as we roll this full program out, I'd like to consider shifting us away from quarterly billing to monthly billing, which is more of the standard in the industry today, especially because of affordability concerns. Quarterly bills are a lot harder to plan for, they're a lot harder to budget for, and so in line with our affordability goals is moving us to monthly billing. Around 2030, 2031 is when we anticipate that could be possible. Next, and of course the most exciting, is the brand new water treatment plant that a few of you had the chance to see. We just started pumping water through that new facility last Tuesday. So far, so good. We're expecting a few hiccups here this summer, which is the intent. We'll be testing it out extensively now through September with hopes of shutting down the old legacy plant in September and then fully running on the new system. We do have about a year left of construction left, and that is when we're able to shut down the old plant. We'll actually have to do some demo and some building of some new spaces, lab spaces in parts of what was the old plant. And that's because we were able to build the new plant on the same footprint as the current one with some creative engineering. So while exciting that we're up and running partially, that's only part of the water, and we still have quite a bit of work to do to really push this over the finish line over the next year. As far as treatment goes, customers should not notice any difference. The water treatment process itself is exactly the same. There is one additional add, and that's the add of a technology called ozone. And what ozone does is actually help with any taste and odor concerns, which we don't have a history of. But it also helps with what's called contaminants of emerging concern. And one of the big ones right now is pharmaceuticals. being entered into our water systems. And so ozone is able to help with things like that. And so we're hopeful that in the next 5, 10, 20 years, as new regulations come out of about other contaminants, we'll be ahead of the game because ozone will already be taking care of them. I'm going to highlight our capital investment plan because it's been a huge topic for our board, and will be tomorrow night at our next board meeting where we work to brainstorm rates for 2026. The dark blue lines are what we were doing historically on capital investments. And again, as our capital really gets to that 100-year age and really starts hitting the end of life cycles, we want to make sure that we're being more proactive and keeping ourselves off the news with proactive replacements. And so we've really been putting a lot of time and effort into identifying what those projects need to be, identifying costs and efficiencies. And so you can see the updated capital plan in the bright blue is our goal, and the rate increases that we're asking for are tied to being able to fund a more proactive, more aggressive capital replacement schedule into the future. This roadmap is hard to view on here, but I hope you had a bigger shot of it. Otherwise, we can get you one. But again, this slide just helps to highlight that we don't take those rate increases lightly, and it's very important to us to make sure that we're taking many steps along the way to ensure that water is accessible and affordable for our customers. A few of those briefly that I'll highlight are the commitment from St. Paul Regional Water Services to fund our Waterworks Low-Income Assistance Program. So we are the first utility in the state to do this. I actually spoke at a national conference last week and have many cities reaching out to try and copy our model. But we have committed what's equivalent to 5% of our revenue to a low-income assistance program so that qualifying families are able to get up to $300 per year to offset those costs of their water bills. Some other programs that we've done are the register replacements so that we can stop leaks. A huge leak bill. Leak bills are about $6,000 usually. That's going to cause an affordability problem for any one of us. So the AMI data is really going to be a huge help. We've also been going into low-income apartment complex and replacing low-efficient toilets, and that's made a huge savings for some of those customers already as well. So more detail available in this plan, but want to highlight a few of those important programs. I want to say one last thing on that, I'm sorry. The last commitment that's worth noting is that our board officially this year made the commitment to no longer do water shutoffs. Again, first in the state to make that commitment. While we can rely on certifying unpaid utility bills to taxes at year end, and that is what we will do, a lot of the steps that you're seeing is how do we proactively keep people on top of their bills instead of reactively shutting them off on the backside. So we're really excited about that commitment, but also the work is just starting on how do we keep people out of it. All right, last but not least, just a couple ties, and I touched on some of this already, but how can you help? How can you help when you talk to your constituents? How can you help in interacting with our team? And I'll just highlight a few briefly. We've just launched social media. I think we've been in touch with your communications team. We're really excited to share those resources, make sure that our message is getting to all of your constituents here. One exciting project that a few of you got to see when you walked through the plant is that we saved a space in the new plant to create a learning experience, kind of like an interactive museum with ways to learn about a lot of what you heard about today for customers, so that when you come in for a tour, you're not just seeing the plant, but you're also seeing holistically, how do water systems work? What is a meter? Where does the water come from? How do I calculate my bill? So a lot of exciting learning opportunities. In coordination with that, we were really excited to start spending more time at meetings like this, as well as in schools, and in addition to doing the tour groups to our facility. I talked about the regional needs for water expansion. Again, if you're getting asked how things are going here, we hope you have good things to say, and if not, you now know how to contact me, hopefully, so that we can keep that a positive message as we hope to expand. Political advocacy for continued lead money and other capital money is going to be another huge priority for us. I've worked in partnership with you all to gather letters when we're really working with legislation, different types of the year. We've talked about lead-free, so when we do come for those 7 customers, if you can help make sure they know that it's not a scam. We are for real. We're there to replace infrastructure at their property, and it's a great project. Same concept for the register replacements. Customer contact campaign is an interesting one. It's part of us being out at all of these events, some you can see on the right, but just having accurate phone numbers, email addresses, getting customers to sign up for our new portal. We've just launched a new portal. Those of you who put up with our old one for many years, thank you. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We are finally modernized. You can sign up for auto pay without having to write your bank information and mail it to us on a paper form. So we're taking huge steps forward, but we've only got about 30% of our customers using the new portal. So if you can continue to help advertise that for us, that gets us to ideally e-billing where we're not having to spend as much operational costs on mailings. It also gets us to that ability to have better contact information and auto pay. So some really exciting improvements with technology. And then just your help in making sure that folks understand that Waterworks is available. So if you're interacting with any of the customers that are having a hard time paying their bill, if you can help refer them and remind them that Waterworks is there. It's a pretty simple process, and we'd love to help support them in making sure their bills stay affordable.
I just have a comment sitting on the board and for the gentlemen that are here. It has been a fantastic experience, and it's such a quiet department. You don't hear a lot about it, but they give off the gold standard of water to this state and pretty much for everywhere. And it's almost like having clean air. People just take it for granted. And Raquel has built a fantastic team. You guys are not only creative, you're also, you're very thoughtful about the community as a whole, thoughtful in everything you do. You guys are on the edge of doing all these innovative things, yet you're not jamming it down people's throats. You're very cognizant of people and their financial. And you know, you talk about having to do a rate increase. When you look back at all the rates for this water that people want, I mean, people pay for, and we just pay, you know, $4 for the, you know, the 700 some gallons. You know, the rates are so fair. I mean, below what they need to be to keep things going. So I hope people in Maplewood realize that, you know, the rates, yes, they will be increasing, but it's not anything crazy, and it's so, you have the best water. So, and you have a great team. So thank you for coming and sharing all the experience of the treatment facility and stuff. You do have a lot going on there.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I should call you council or commissioner. Yep. I'm a little back and forth with you. But thank you for the kind words. We definitely appreciate the time and effort you put in to be a part of the team and really keep us moving towards the future. Yeah. And for those who weren't on the tour last week, we do plan to, we're still in that live construction zone, but really this fall, once we pass through the testing phase, we'd love to have other visitors out and would love to see you come out and be able to show off the new plant. It's pretty amazing. Thanks for having me.
Those people who are curious, our communications manager was out on the tour with us, and I'm sure is busy working on putting together a video so people will be able to see it. And there was a lot of filming going on, and so you probably will feel like you were there on the tour with us. It was a great tour.
I'm excited.
Very educational, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you all.
All right, council members, moving on our agenda, we have 5 items on our consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
I motion consent agenda items G1 through 5.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, consent agenda items G1 through 5. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We have no public hearings tonight. Moving on to unfinished business, we have our private tree relief program update. Mr. Love, we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening. So I'm happy to be before you here to talk about our proposed new updated private tree relief program. So just a little bit about how we got here. Back in 2024, the council had established a tree relief program that really dealt with the little guy on the right there, emerald ash borer, and the effects it has on our ash trees throughout the city. So the program was really established to help residential property owners who have EAB trees that need to be taken down but are having some, needed some assistance with the financing of that. So it was a really neat program that the council had set up. You established $150,000, which allowed $3,000 per property owner. And then that money could be assessed to their property taxes over a period of 5 years at a low interest rate. We had 59 applications. 23 of them participated in the program. The others chose not to. So that was both the overall lotto list, but also anybody who called in and was put on a standby. Everybody got an opportunity. So we used about $45,000 of the 150, which leaves us about $105,000 available to provide further assistance to additional property owners throughout the city. So back May 12th, we were before the council at a workshop, and we were asking, like, what should we do? You know, we presented some options. What should we do with this program? Should we change it? Should we alter it? And so what the changes that the council provided us was that we're going to open it up to all property owners, both residential and commercial. We're going to open it up to all types of trees, but they have to be diseased or a hazard. And this actually ends up being a very good tool for our staff for code enforcement activities. So if a property has a tree that needs to be taken down and maybe they've been hesitant because of the cost of it, this provides a good tool for staff. And the other thing that council wanted to see was as those assessment payments come in, the payment with the interest is reinvested in the program so we can help additional property owners. So the details here, again, we're going to stick with the $3,000 per year per property, 5-year assessment, and that interest rate will be 2% over what the most recent bond issuance is. The eligible work, we're going to continue to keep it at just cutting down and disposal of the tree. The grinding of the trunk, the replanting and restoration, it won't be eligible because the idea is to help as many people get those trees down that need it. And if the council chooses to move forward with this, the good thing is we've already got a year under our belt because we've ran the EAB program and we just slightly altered that to make this new private tree relief program. We'll be working with our communications department, putting it in the Maplewood Living, pushing it out through social media and a web page. And similar to before, we have our forms will be available online. And we also have staff now that have helped other property owners work through this, so they'll be available to help residents out as they go forward. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
You know, I want to say I really appreciate this program. I think that this is a huge help for our community members. I like the way that we have adapted, and this will be a sustainable program that will be available to more and more people. You know, coupled with what we are already doing with our May tree sale, I think we are certainly being good stewards of the canopy that we have here in Maplewood. So I really appreciate that. Council members, anything else that you, any other questions or comments? Then would someone like to make a motion?
I move to approve the updated private tree relief policy.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the updated private tree relief policy. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Love. We are now moving on to new business. We have a resolution ordering the abatement of hazardous building and public nuisance conditions at 1851 North St. Paul Road. Ms. Parr, this is your presentation tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'll turn your attention to the overhead as soon as it pops up. There we go, thank you. The subject site is located at the southwest intersection of North St. Paul Road and Ripley Avenue, as you can see there. The building was constructed in 1965. It's on just over a half an acre of land there. Most recently, the structure was a restaurant, and it's been vacant and non-operational since 2020. The issues at the site are numerous and well documented in your packet. I won't go into all the details. We'll look at a few photos to be reflective of them, and I think that pretty much tells the story. Since 2020, there have been numerous violations on the site. I just want to take a moment and kind of talk through about what led us to tonight. I think, as we all know, you've dealt with a number of these. In the last 2 years in particular, we've really had more of a focus on the property maintenance and safety of of our buildings here in town. And often people, I think, don't understand what goes into that. So I have a slide here this evening that kind of gives a little bit more detail, and I won't read it to you, but I do think it lays out just what we looked at from 2020 to today in regards to numerous violations related to exterior storage, trash accumulation, building and property maintenance. Those were large issues at the site. When these code violations come up, and have come up in recent years, we've dealt with this site a little bit different than others. We've kind of become a property manager. The owner has not done anything to maintain it, but we need to be responsive to it. So any recent corrections that have been done to the site have all been done by the city, with costs and fines being assessed back to the property owner. It's kind of unusual, but in this case, the property owner has just continuously paid those. And we just keep moving forward, trying to do enforcement in creative ways. We got to the point when we weren't getting responses to any of the notices. We actually had staff go to the home of the owner to try to engage them in a conversation of how we could be helpful and what the issue was in regards to the site. The owner did not indicate that they would be making any corrections further on the site, and they had reached out to family hoping someone would take it over, basically, and no one's interested in doing that. So that brings us to today, to 2025. Early in the year, in January, at the end of January, the city obtained an administrative search warrant, and early in February, we actually executed on that and had our building official go out and actually look at the site, which I think the pictures tell you. Here's the exterior side, broken window. I'll just kind of move around the outside of the building and the inside. The cooler addition, the back of the building, that's the trash enclosure adjacent to it, you can see there. Here's the rear of the building. That's the other side of the cooler, and you can see the foundation is failing, and it's pulling away from the actual wall there. This is the back fenced area where the trash enclosure is. Often that's open, and quite honestly, a lot of that is just people illegally dumping. But we still need to respond to it, and the property owner is still responsible for it. So this is what was there on that particular day. I'll note that these were taken in February, and while I've not been back in the building, from what I can see from standing at the street, which is as close as I can get to it, I can tell you that it hasn't gotten any better from what I can tell from my perspective in the windows. Here's the main dining room and the buffet area. You can see the failure of the ceilings kind of throughout. Here's looking back from the kitchen into the dining room. The sheetrock has given way. They've tried to catch water underneath some of the sheetrock areas. Our building official could see that they had probably been dealing with leaking roof for a very long time and tried to find other ways to deal with it unsuccessfully. Here's the kitchen cooking area, what's left of it. On the opposite side, that's where the prep areas were and the sinks and the staging area. All of that area has been cleared out. Not quite sure by whom, but it's all gone. Here's the basement. One of the things that you'll notice here is the brown line up on the wall, well over 4 feet above. We've had, not sure exactly when it happened or how long the water was sitting there, but we clearly had flooding and water damage take place, which compromised the electrical. In addition to the electrical, the fuse boxes, everything being cleared out, the copper, anything of value has been cleared out of the structure. Obviously, the mold is extensive throughout on the walls and the ceilings. The electrical is questionable as far as the hazardness or exactly what the condition of the electrical is. We know it's not in working condition. Here you can see the strip breakers and wiring on both floors. And here's the back portion of the basement. If approved, the proposed resolution in your packet documents the conditions of the site and authorizes staff and necessary consultants to serve an order on the owner that requires them to abate the hazardous elements of the building within 45 days. If they fail to do this, the city will formally proceed with a request for a court order authorizing the city to demolish the structure and restore the site. Based on the previous code enforcement actions and inspections that have resulted on the site, staff recommends the motion you see before you there to approve the resolution in your packet ordering the abatement and the conditions creating the hazardous building and public nuisance at 1851 North St. Paul Road. With that, our city attorney, Beatty, as well as myself, are here to answer any questions you may have.
Council members, any questions? I think the pictures are pretty telling. I do appreciate the efforts that staff has made to work with the owners. It's always, I think, a little bit sad when a building goes into such disrepair as this, but unfortunately, I don't see that we have any other alternatives. So thank you for your efforts with this. Council members, would someone like to make the motion?
I move to approve the resolution ordering the abatement of conditions creating hazardous building and a public nuisance at 1851 North St. Paul Road.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion as written in our council packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Didn't come a moment too soon.
Moving on, we have some special legislation. This was a very unusual legislative session, but we were able to accomplish something really, I think, quite wonderful for our community, and that is through a lot of effort and work by our staff and also by the lobbying firm, Lockridge Grindle, specifically Ann Lincheski and Alex Hassel. They did a fantastic job. And Mr. Sable, you were going to present this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and council members. This will obviously be a short one. As part of the 2025 legislative program, we did request a change in the state statute for our TIF provisions that would allow us to move excess increment from one geographic bounded TIF district to another area. As part of the legislative maneuvering, they needed us to provide a geography. We gave them a geography. They said, well, maybe that's too big. Could you come back with a smaller area? And so we are able to move our excess increment from the 3M tax increment financing district to an area bounded by State Highway 61 to the west, Interstate 694 to the north, White Bear Avenue to the east, and both sides of Beam Avenue to the south. That is largely directed towards what's commonly known as the north end. It gives us the ability to repurpose nearly $1 million in tax increment financing that can then be used to do spur redevelopment in the area. One of the requirements of the law is that you have to accept that what you asked for is exactly what you wanted, and so the action is to adopt approval of the changes to the law, and so it is a yet another requirement that we have to do. But I thought it was an opportunity to highlight the creativity that comes from thinking through what we want to accomplish, finding some tools, asking for additional permissions, and I just want to, as you noted, Mayor, Ann Lincheski and Alex Hassel did incredible work and actually put us in touch with the staff who actually write the bill, and so we were actually speaking with them months in advance to make sure that we were successful, so it goes to show that preparedness and preparation pays off. And I didn't mean that alliteration to work so well, but I had a lot of P's back to back to back.
That was
So
impressive.
I'll stand for any questions.
Council members, any questions? Councilmember Cave.
Just a comment. I want to, thank you, City Manager Sable, for putting together. I believe it was before the session started. You pulled everyone together from Ramsey County. Our the staff you were talking about, our legislators, our lobbyists, and you brought them in and had a conversation about wants and needs of Maplewood, and we got to express all that to them. Now, did we get everything? No, but we got more than I've ever seen. And clearly, just in this last session, which was a crazy one, there's a few things that we had gotten from it, and I'm just impressed. So if we can continue doing that, that's great.
Yeah. Staff worked very hard on it.
Yeah.
So, council members, there is a motion. Would someone like to make it?
I move to adopt the resolution approving the approved special legislation which amended the 2013 law by expanding the geographic area in which expenditures may be made.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave. The motion is written in our packet. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on, our last agenda item tonight is the Flock Safety Service Agreement for the Maplewood Police Department. Chief Beardeman, do you want to tee this off? And I see we have Lieutenant Hemke, who is going to be presenting tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I'll tee it off by just reminding you that Dr. Bostrom did do a technology study that he brought to you a couple months ago. During that study, he pointed out that automated license plate technology was an area that we could really increase our opportunity to be operational effective. You have in front of you a motion to approve the Maplewood Police Department signing of a service agreement with Flock Safety. This is something that we recognize could have went to the consent agenda. However, much like our drone program, there is people who are concerned with privacy and things of that nature with license plate readers as well as drones. So I thought it was a good opportunity to have Lieutenant Hemke, who's in charge of investigations and our regional expert on flock safety and the camera systems, come and really let the public and let you all know what this program is and what it isn't, and address some of the privacy concerns and also how it can be a great force multiplier. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. Lieutenant Hemke, turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. So as Chief Beardman said, I'm Lieutenant Hemke. I've spent the last 6 months now supervising the investigations division, and with that have spent a significant amount of time of learning more about technology and how we can leverage that to investigate crime and address crime within the city of Maplewood. Recently we brought forth the idea of adding Cellbrite as a program that we could utilize in the police department, and thankful to the council for approving that. We've already seen success with being able to forensically download cell phones here in Maplewood without having to send them out. So with that, as we continue to look to advance, we move to a program or a company called Flock Safety. And what Flock Safety ultimately provides is LPR cameras that are stationary and put throughout the city to capture license plates of vehicles that are moving in and out of the city. With the agreement and the subscription, it includes full coverage for all of the products that Flock provides. There's no requirement or additional work for the staff of the city or for the police department. What this does is it creates a tool for us to be able to know who's coming in and out of our city and use those license plates to track down who is committing crime within the city and give us a lead to really start investigating further the issues that we see across the city. So as you can see with the annual subscription, they are solar powered. The Flock will provide the installation and ongoing maintenance, as well as the hardware procurement and permitting. So they take care of all of the end work on that end. They provide us the user training, they store the data for us, and they give us the database to be able to search the information that we are capturing. So with that, what you see up there on the picture is an example of what one of the Flock cameras will look like. They're relatively small, and what they do is they capture the license plates of the vehicles. So what Flock is, it's a license plate recognition system. All right, it gathers objective evidence and facts about vehicles. And what we mean by objective evidence is this is grabbing just vehicles. This is not targeting people. There is no ability for us to enter information about any actual suspect. All it does is allow us to be able to grab license plates and search the database for specific descriptions of vehicles that we are looking for. In addition, we can put alerts on vehicles, and it will let us know when they enter our city. So if any alert is out in the state regarding a vehicle, whether it's a stolen, an Amber Alert, there's somebody who has an active warrant out for their arrest related to a violent crime, if it's related to that vehicle and it enters the city, Flock pushes an alert to our officers. It can push that alert through text, through an actual system that's programmed into their computer so that it'll pop up on their actual dashboard while they're driving around in their squads, and it'll alert them to the issues that are in our city. This is important because we need to know when those individuals are entering our city, and it helps us get them into custody in a more rapid fashion. Utilizing Flock does adhere to all state laws and data retention. So like you can see in what Flock is not, it's not facial recognition. There's no AI built into it. There's no biometric data that's collected, and it's not used for tracking things like speed, parking violations, or anything of that nature. The data is automatically set to delete every 30 days. Per the state, we do have 60 days that we can retain that data, but currently Flock is set up to delete that data every 30 days so that we're not hanging on to people's personal data to look at it later or anything related to their vehicle. How the technology works to deter crime is it's a proactive tool for us to be able to actually progressively look for those individuals who are in our city committing crime or attempting to commit crime. As you can see from the photo on the right there, that is actually what the cameras will target, is the rear of the vehicle. So again, to talk about what it's not, is it's not looking for who the driver is. It's looking to identify the actual vehicle. The reason it targets the rear of the vehicle is it's most successful with capturing the license plate as it's driving away from the camera. When it's coming towards the camera, it tends to blur the image and make it more difficult to get a clear license plate recognition. So the cameras will be established to actually catch the traffic as it goes past it and goes away from the camera. So if you think about White Bear Avenue, if we set one up on White Bear Avenue and we want to capture northbound traffic, the camera is going to face northbound. As the vehicle passes it, that camera will take a picture of the license plate and provide us back with that photo. And that'll be a searchable item for up to 30 days. Again, we talked about the alerts it sends. It'll send those alerts to our officers that are actively on patrol and as well as anybody else who's logged into the system. That data can also be shared across any other Flock users within the state, and we'll talk about the partnership that creates for us across the state of Minnesota, as there are several other agencies that are already leveraging this technology. It also gives us a starting point for investigations. In investigations, what I've learned in the brief time that I've been back there is that at certain points, we just need somewhere to start. We know the crime was committed. We may have very little information about the vehicle or about a suspect, but we need someplace to start. Now, when it comes to retail theft, things of that nature, we tend to use photos. We get photos of the person as they're leaving. It gives us a starting point or a descriptor of who we're looking for. What this does is it gives us a place to start when it comes to vehicles. If we have a narrowed down timeline of when the crime was committed, we can look at that timeline and start to look for vehicles that match the description given by the victim. So if you think about a crime that occurs at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, where traffic is not as heavy throughout the city, if we know that the vehicle that came through was a red SUV, we can put red SUV into this system and we can look for any red SUV that triggered any of the cameras in the city of Maplewood. We know that we won't be able to cover every single road. That's not possible. But what it will do is cover our main access points in and out of the city so that potentially after that crime was committed or before the crime was committed, we were able to capture that license plate and get a starting point for trying to figure out who the suspect is and who we are looking for who committed that crime. Additionally, it is becoming more and more well-known cities that have Flock cameras, and it does deter crime within the cities that do have it. Criminals do look for things like this. They look for crimes of opportunity, and that's why they target often stores that don't have security systems, that don't have cameras in place, don't have actively working security protocols. So adding Flock does give the city another deterrent towards crime. Transparency and accountability. The video footage, it's not even the video footage because it takes still images, but the still images belong to us. They belong to the city, and they belong to us for the 30-day period that we're allowed to retain them. After that, they're deleted automatically. And again, there's no bias in the data that it collects. It doesn't choose which cars to take pictures of. It takes pictures of every license plate that goes past it. All the data is secured through end-to-end encryption, and that is provided by Flock. Again, that doesn't provide any additional resources or requirements from the city or the IT department. For accountability, again, we've already talked about what it's not, but it's not collecting any biometric data, it's not facial recognition, and any searches that we do conduct are logged, and it is a searchable, auditable log that you can find out why we searched for that vehicle, what the purpose was. We provide a case number and a reason for why we searched for that vehicle, so that there's transparency into why we are searching for a specific license plate. Partnership, Flock Safety is currently in 40+ law enforcement agencies across the state. We've already seen success in using Flock through our partner cities in Ramsey County. Our crime analyst has worked actively with Roseville to solve several crimes in Maplewood by just using the Flock cameras that they have in their city, as criminals have left the city of Maplewood, gone on to commit a similar crime in Roseville, and we've been able to identify the vehicle using their Flock cameras. There's additional cameras being put up throughout the county within the next year to include several more from Ramsey County, a few from North St. Paul, as well as a couple other surrounding cities. I think the only city currently surrounding Maplewood that won't have them by the end of this year is going to be Oakdale. And lastly, just another example of a case study. This is one provided by Flock. This is an important way to look at how you can leverage Flock to, again, keep the community safe. So in this case, there was an Amber Alert that was issued for an abducted child from a stranger. And what they can do after that occurs is, again, they can send that alert out statewide, nationwide, to any partners with Flock, so that if that vehicle passes any Flock camera, it's going to alert all agencies that have that. So the important part for that is we're able to track where that suspect vehicle is moving to. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to immediately intercept it at that point, but it's narrowing our search down and bringing us in closer and closer. So if you look at the timeline, they were able to conduct that search with flock safety, narrow down where the vehicle was, locate the vehicle, recover the missing child or the abducted child, and return it to their mother within roughly a 5.5-hour time span. Probably the most terrifying 5.5 hours for that mother, but again, without this technology, who knows how long that recovery could have taken. This technology already exists within the city of Maplewood within our squad cars. We have LPRs in our squad cars that are through Axon, the company that provides our body-worn cameras, as well as the cameras in our squad cars. So all the policies regarding how we use the technology and how we leverage it already exist within the police department. There's no need to recreate the wheel or do anything. This is just providing a stationary option that isn't mobile. So currently with our cars, as they're driving around, it's doing the same thing. We're capturing license plates and we have a searchable database. The problem is when our cars are not actively out there patrolling, or we only have 4 or 5 of them, we're only covering a small portion of the city, whereas having stationary cameras on those avenues in and out of the city that are most traveled will give us much more data to be able to search and much more opportunity to locate that we're looking for. In addition to what Flock provides, there's also the cost to leverage this technology. I did include the quote within the packet. I believe it shows $65,000 a year to add Flock, which leverages 20 cameras for us across the city. With that, we were able to get grant funding through our auto theft grant to reduce that cost. So in year 1, we were able to use $16,750 to reduce that cost down to $48,250. And in year 2, we're able to use $15,000 to get that cost down to $50,000. The recommendation is that we sign an agreement with Flock Safety for 2 years as an opportunity to see how we can leverage this technology to address crime in the city of Maplewood. And if successful, look at extending that contract and developing a longer standing partnership with Flock Safety. That is all I have for you tonight, pending any questions.
Great report. We really appreciate it. This is an amazing tool, and I'm glad to see that that you're bringing this to the council. Council members, I have spoken to a number of mayors on that list of 40, and they have shared with me anecdotal stories about how Flock has kept their community safe, how it has deterred crime, and given the fact that there are guardrails, there is a balance and there's a certain sensitivity about privacy, and I think that you have struck that balance. And I find this particularly exciting. I think this is a great tool, and I'm looking forward to what it can do for our community. Councilmember Villavicencio.
Yes, I just have a simple question. You mentioned something about folks with warrants on their arrest. Is it only for warrants with violent crimes?
It would be only warrants that are attached to that vehicle. So if an individual person has a warrant, it wouldn't necessarily be attached to that vehicle. If they're the registered owner of the vehicle, or they're the known driver of the vehicle, maybe they did a sale and they didn't properly transfer the registered owner, we can attach an alert to that vehicle for that individual with the warrant.
Okay, thank you.
And those warrants can be for anything. It can be misdemeanor all the way up to violent felonies.
Okay.
Council members, any other questions? Is there a motion then?
I move to approve the Maplewood Police Department signing the service agreement with Flock Safety.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the Maplewood Police Department signing the service agreement with Flock Safety. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Council members, good work, a whole variety of things that we, from finances to Flock tonight. You never know what we're going to be addressing, but thank you very much for your hard work. And council members, we have concluded